So, welcome to the Mental Health Podcast. I am your host, Lauren Green, and we have a special guest today, my friend Gabrielle Jones.
Hello. Hello. How are you? We've literally been trying to record this for like the past 8 minutes and it just hasn't been working. But here we are.
It's been like 15 minutes, I feel like.
Really actually been 22, but who's counting?
Who's counting? Not me, I'm just here, And plus I haven't seen you in person. Like I haven't seen you face to face since my birthday.
Yes.
That's been a whole 6 months.
Yes. And we live down the street from each other.
We do. We live around the corner.
Literally.
Around the corner.
I'm just gonna do a drive-by, but whatever.
But since this is your first time on the podcast, I have icebreaker questions. I didn't show you these icebreaker questions the other day, but we have icebreaker questions.
I'm so excited.
So the first one is, what is your favorite food?
Favorite food is probably tacos.
Shrimp
yes,
tacos. I love a good taco. Like
the shrimp tacos from Mezcal.
Tacos be fire. Like
they're amazing.
I have never been to Mezcal.
You have to go. We will go.
I need all the tacos. I need all the smoke. Like
all the tacos, all the smoke. We'll go post-COVID. Negative COVID test. We'll go.
I can't. I cannot. What is your favorite turn-up song?
My favorite turn-up song is probably is Shy Glizzy, Take It Off. If you haven't heard that song, listen to that song, preferably the clean version. And we'll just end that there.
Okay. I've never heard that song ever, so I'm gonna listen to it tonight.
You're in for a treat.
I hope it's lit.
It is.
Good. The last one is, what is your favorite animal?
If I had to pick a favorite animal, I think it might be a koala bear.
That was the most randomest animal that I did not expect for you to pick. Like
it would be a koala bear, but that's really because, okay, they're soft, they're nice, but they're actually very deadly. They're actually partially not friendly, and they can be problematic. So they have it's like Sour Patch.
Oh, so they like sour and sweet at the same time.
When they're sour, they're sour and sweet at the same time. Like they can be really, really nice, and then, when they feel threatened, it just drops and they're not.
I feel like that describes you.
Exactly, because I'm chaotic and problematic. But look where we are. But I'm also very nice.
Wait a minute, but you're not chaotic and problematic though. Like
that you haven't seen.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there we go.
That is true. So we are finishing our series on therapy tales, people's journeys with therapy. I don't know if I'm gonna have another guest or not. I'm not sure if I'm gonna ask men to be on the show that have been in therapy. Mm-hmm. I've been debating with that idea, but we're finishing it with you probably today. But I probably will extend it with men because I feel like their experience is different in therapy. So I know you've been in therapy, right? But we never really talked about ever, never, it's never come up in conversation. Because we're always about the tea and what's be happening with people. But that's besides the point. That's besides the point. And my life and stuff, but that's besides the point. So how long have you been in therapy, or how long did you go to therapy?
So I have been since last April. So I've been going to therapy for roughly about a year. It was a personal choice. It was legitimately a personal choice, because you get to a point where you need to talk to somebody
Yeah.
outside of your friends, outside of your family,
Yeah.
outside of whoever you're in a relationship with. You really need somebody who is unbiased. You need to have somebody who has no idea who you are. Look at things through a clear lens that you might not be seeing because everything is smoke and mirrors to you.
Smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
That's a word. That's a preach right there.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching Iona Van Zant Fix My Life, and she had who's she have on there? Shay Johnson, aka I think her name was Bucky on
Flavor of love.
Flavor of Love, yes. And it was her, her brothers, and her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first activities they did was she had them look through like this like distorted mirror kind of. And she thought it was really interesting that they didn't realize like they didn't pinpoint like, oh, the mirror is distorted. Like they didn't really get the exercise. They kind of just focused on all the positive stuff about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
not the distorted parts of themselves. And I feel like with therapy, you really get a sense of like who you really are.
Yeah. And your therapist is really there to be honest with you.
Okay, they keep it 100. Okay.
Okay. They're here to really tell you about yourself.
Oh,
And you're really paying them for them to tell you about yourself and to be completely honest, because 9 times out of 10, your friends are not being honest with you.
you,
Your friends are probably lying to you.
that's
Literally.
true. Or they're just telling you what you want to hear so you can like leave them alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know how it is. Because they're lying to you. Your friends are lying to you. And, your therapist is not going to lie to you because they're getting billed by your insurance.
They sure are. And they actually want to see you grow and, stop being toxic.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, the 2020 phrase of being toxic. I kind of low key like hate that word, but yeah, you figure out your toxic patterns and why you're like low key unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because people will be out here unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Unhealthy. So, what made you start going to therapy?
For me, it was because I realized that I was rationalizing things that I thought were okay as a teen, as a young adult. And you realize that you're bringing those patterns over into adulthood,
Yeah.
and you're really understanding. You think like, oh, it's okay, it's fine. And then you realize it's not okay. You're suppressing emotions. You have built up issues with not only yourself, but other people. And you aren't properly being able to confront those issues. I personally go because I'm confrontational. I'm very confrontational. And I realize that there's ways to be able to better confront my issues and better confront my problems and better be able to talk through it without the first thing me saying is, I'm gonna slap the shit out you. Because you don't have to.
No.
No.
Mhm.
And on top of that, it was because a lot of the issues that I had, I was carrying those things over into some friendships, relationships. That's very problematic. You're dating somebody and
Problematic. Yes.
you have issues. You have issues and they have issues, but your issues are getting in the way of you both progressing. And I was like, I need to talk to somebody because it's not working.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Because sometimes, like was it Veronica's episode? I think it was Veronica's episode. She had talked about how the one event in her childhood she was still dealing with as a 28-year-old woman. Um, and honestly, sometimes as children and teenagers, like we're not taught how to deal with stuff. So it just kind of just grows and grows and
Mm-hmm.
grows until one day it's just like, sis, you kind of toxic. Like, get
Yeah.
it together.
Start realizing that. I know that for me, I had an event earlier this year. with my grandmother passing. And it took 48 hours between the time of me getting a call saying that she wasn't going to make it,
Yeah.
going to North Carolina, to me watching her die, to me asking to see her one more time and them unzipping a body bag in order for me to see her, for me to really understand that there were a lot of things that happened previous to that that I was normalizing and I didn't. And I shouldn't have. And I had to go to therapy to talk about that. And you realize there's a lot of things, people, personalities, that when it gets to a point and sometimes it gets too late, you're like, oh no, this is not okay. And it changes you because you think it's okay as a young adult, but then you realize now you're an adult and then you're confronted with it. And you're like, no, these things aren't okay. And you realize behaviors and patterns of people.
Yes. Yes. I think we normalize a lot of things because I don't know, that's what society kind of like teaches us to do though.
Yeah.
Like we normalize stuff. Like we normalize literally like everything. Like everything. Just everything.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where it's like, why are we normalizing this?
Because we don't know any better. It's easier to suppress something and put it under the rug than it would be to talk about it, because you're creating problems, you're bringing back up old feelings, old ideas, old thoughts, and people don't want to do that.
That is true. I think my cats are like doing something weird upstairs, but that's besides the point. I think my therapist had told me it was like a while ago. She had said it's easier to do the unhealthy things than to do the healthy things. So it's easier to grab those bag of chips than grab some carrots or water or whatever. It's easier to grab the unhealthy things than the healthy stuff because we're used to grabbing the unhealthy things.
Mm-hmm.
That was a word.
That was a word.
It was. It was a preach. I'll be preaching low key on the podcast. What lessons have you learned about yourself in therapy?
That I am stronger than I think I am. That I'm more capable than I believe. That there was something she said. She said that that I have to learn how to speak up more when things aren't right, or when I don't think things are okay. That I suppress a lot of emotion, and that it's not okay to suppress emotion in order to spare someone.
It's not.
She was very clear on that. She was like, "You cannot suppress your own emotions because you will eat yourself alive."
I mean, eat yourself alive. I mean, that's a whole preach right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we suppress our feelings, like we're not really like dealing with it. It's just kind of like going into not like a grave, but like it's just sitting in like a trash can or like sitting in like a box or something. And it just like, for example, you mad about something and then somebody else make you mad and then that goes into the box. Something else happens, that goes into the box. And it's just like you got 5,000 things you mad at and you just be mad. Like, what you mad for? Like you ain't even mad at me at this point. You mad at all the stuff you held on to in the box. Like you're not even mad at me.
Yeah, she's very big on, and she tells me all the time, speak up. If people don't want to be your friend anymore, if people don't want to associate with you anymore, if people don't like what you have to say, at least you can say at the end of the day that you spoke up and you said what you had to say, then that's all you can do. But that's going to set you free.
Yeah, because your thoughts and feelings are your thoughts and feelings. And we are only responsible for our own thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
And if they don't like it, then so be it. Like, so be it. So be it.
So be it.
Because God will bring other people to our lives. Like one person might leave, but he'll bring somebody else eventually. It might not be right away, or it could be right away, but he will still bring other people in your life. Like,
And I think what a lot of people have to realize is that your life is broken up into chapters, right?
yeah,
So every chapter has characters, it has a plot, it has a rise, it has a fall. Some may have solutions.
it has
Some
a theme. It has
and
a theme. Some chapters be a mess.
mhm. But the good thing about it is that as time progresses, things change. And if people leave, it's just a chapter. It's a chapter that you learn something from. You take that lesson and you position it right into your next one.
Yeah, and chapters have lessons.
Yep,
We like the lessons. I like them.
we do.
I like them. How did you apply what you learned in therapy to your life?
Oh, I do it every single day. When I have a problem with somebody, I speak up. When I have a thought or idea about something,
Yeah.
I have to say it. My relationships with people have become healthier
Yeah.
because we're having effective communication.
Yeah.
Um, Me dating the person that I'm dating, it's been much healthier because our communication is highly effective.
Yes,
It
highly effective communication. Come on.
is normalized.
We here
It's
for
a
it.
safe space. When everything is right, we talk. When everything is not right, we still talk. If I have a problem, I'm gonna say it. Um, and then with family too. It's just, a lot of issues that I had that I really went to therapy for is because of family.
Right.
And I've been able to sit and talk to my family and be like, hey, this happened this time and we need to talk about it because it wasn't okay. And we're gonna talk about why it wasn't okay. We're gonna talk about why we thought it was fine, and we're gonna talk about why moving forward we're not doing it.
Well, come on and be assertive. I'm here for it. Okay, I'm here for it. Because the one thing I know, family is be the main ones that have you be in therapy. I mean, I be like, look,
But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that the root of a lot of people's problems in their life is really because of family. You
it
you,
is.
you have issues with your family members. You have conversations, things that they've done to you when you're younger, you've done to them when they were younger. It reached over into you as a teenager, it reached over into you as an adult, and then you realize like I'm carrying these behaviors, I'm carrying these patterns and these situations that I've gone through with you guys, and I
Hmm.
thought it was fine, and it's really not.
Yeah, I listened to a sermon. This was a while ago, maybe like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago at this point. And I think he had said, your family is your first teaching environment.
Yeah.
And what you pick up at home, you bring it to the world.
Mhm.
Even when you're like a young child, you bring that stuff to the world. You bring it to class, you take it to school, you take it to church, you take it wherever you go as a child up into adulthood. And you think it's normal because that's all you know.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
that's all you know. That's it. Boom. Like,
And then you realize that as you get older, that some of those patterns and those things and those behaviors and those actions, it's so wrong.
mm-hmm.
But you've been doing it because that's all you know.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my friend the other day, and me and him were talking about relationships, and he was telling me about his relationship, and he was telling me about how he was at one point modeling his relationship after his parents because he thought that the perfect relationship was couples and families that were together, been together for over 20 something years, that everything was okay. And he was carrying that behavior and those patterns into his relationship, but he wasn't realizing that there is no perfect relationship,
Yep.
that those things are facades.
Yep.
They aren't real. And he was bringing in those things of even though his parents were together and they love each other and they've been together for over 20 years, they're not on the same page.
Nope.
They aren't lovey dovey. They have issues communicating. They always fight. They live together, but they're just together because it's easier to stay together than it is to be divorced. And he was bringing that over, realizing that that's not, it may look healthy, but it's really not. And he had to go back in and shape that idea that That's not how you conduct things.
No.
In that you really have to go back to the drawing board and figure things out.
Yeah, I think we always have to go back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Um, always. But yeah, no relationship is perfect. I think sometimes we not idolize certain people. Probably idolize certain people.
We idolize celebrities, IG couples, Facebook couples, and we need to understand that it's not real. It doesn't exist. They may look okay, but in reality, when they're behind closed doors, it's not what it looks like. It's not even what it seems.
That's what I try to tell my clients because I work with teenagers and kids, and sometimes they have this idea of like, oh, when I get 25, well, we all said this.
We all said this.
Like, oh, when I get 25, I'm gonna have X, Y, and Z, Miss Lauren. And I'm like, oh, that's great. But sometimes they have like this distorted view of like, oh, well, I see Kim K or I see Kim K and Kanye and they have X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, that's not how life works.
Mm-mm. I remember when me and you, we went to dinner one time, and I remember I think I was 21. And I think I told you, I was like, by the time I turn 24, I'm going to be married. I'm going to have 2 kids. I'm going to have a house, a single family home, and I'm going to be with the love of my life. And look, I'm 27. I'm traveling the world, and I work for the government doing HR. And life is completely different. And it was really because I thought like, okay, me setting these expectations based off of what I've seen previous people do is going to work. And then I realized like, no, my path is completely different. Even though the road diverged for me,
Yeah.
I still was able to finesse a plan and make a way.
Yeah. I think sometimes we set like unrealistic expectations of based off of what we see in society, what we see from our parents, what we see from social media in general. Like I feel like that's just the big thing in TikTok and everything. But I think we set unrealistic expectations because of what we see on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because and also kind of like comparing ourselves to other people's journeys because it might not have been your journey to get married at 24. Like
It's not. You might think that you think so. You really do think you do. I had a friend. She thought that when she was gonna be 24, that she was gonna be living in Texas.
yes,
And she thought she was gonna be living in Texas with her husband and a dog. And she is now 29 with her life partner, who is a woman, and she's a real estate agent.
well, here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, I think we have to realize that the path can always be changed. Like
Mm-hmm.
our life story can always change for the good, for the bad, for the ugly. Like
Yeah.
prime example, people we went to high school with, half of them ain't doing nothing. They ain't doing nothing.
They ain't doing shit. Okay.
They
I ain't doing
doing
shit.
nothing.
And when we have our class reunion next year, we're gonna really see. I ain't gonna be there, but
Well, ours we didn't have one, so because of COVID.
not like they were gonna be there anyway. So
I mean, I was going.
mm,
It's supposed to be real fancy, but they didn't have enough people making deposits, so
yeah, because never mind.
and
I
then
was
and
like,
then and then COVID happened, so there's that. But yeah, I think we have to like divorce, the expectations we set in our head
yeah,
because plans change, things change.
a lot of them
You,
changed.
you might start on plan A, but you might be on plan C by the time you're done. Like I don't, things change. Let's see, what is my last question? How has therapy helped you to change your mindset on certain things?
I think therapy has helped me to change my mind by approaching everything from the eyes of the other person. I think, and I know I saw your face, right? You looked at me like, girl, why you, like, what's your thought? Like, why would you say that? But I think it's because I would see everything as a, this affects me, this affects me, this affects me. I don't like that. And that's my problem. But then you start realizing, like,
now I get it.
have you seen it through the lens of someone else? Like how the situation potentially affected them and what's their thoughts on it too? And I remember sitting in a therapy session and I told her an issue that I had with somebody. And I remember just being like, yeah, and he did this to me and he did that to me and we argued about this. And I remember she sat and she said to me, but have you not thought about how those things affected him as well? In order for you guys to get down to a common denominator of your problem or how
Therapists,
you saw things.
therapists be
So
dropping
I've
therapists be dropping bars like
yeah,
bars.
yeah. She was like, when you have issues with people, you really have to sit and say to yourself, how did my actions affect you? Because you know how your actions affected you.
Yeah,
But you really got to think about how your actions affected somebody else in every single situation that you go into where there might be conflict. You really have to sit and say, so if me and you got into an argument, how did what I say affected you?
mm-hmm.
How did it make you feel? Because I know how it made me feel. And I know what that effect was on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what I'm going to do after. But what are you going to do after?
And you also have to be open to hearing that, like what they have to say.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like those conversations are great, but if you're not ready to hear it, it's no point.
Yeah. That's
Like,
what, yeah.
like, like same thing with Diana Van Zant episode. She did another exercise, and so she first had told the mom, "Your son's has something to say to you," and just sit there, listen to what they have to like. All they said was, "Mom, I have an issue with you," and then that was it. And she took her off, took her off to another room. Then the sister comes in, same thing, sit down, listen to what they're saying, and then you'll have a moment to yourself to like process it, whatever. But she wasn't really ready to hear that because immediately after they said like you're rude and disrespectful, she just like went off, like complete like 180. Sis was mad, stormed off, cut people out, and I was like, oh, sis mad, but she wasn't ready to receive it.
Yeah.
Some people aren't.
I remember actually a long time ago, actually last year, I went to couples therapy.
To the couples therapy. Tell me about that.
So I tell people all the time, if you're ever dating somebody, and you go to therapy, go to couples therapy, okay?
I
If you
love hearing stuff about it.
if you ever have an opportunity to bring your significant other into a therapist session with you, do it.
I love hearing about couples therapy. It makes me excited. I don't know why.
But you want to know something? It's because you realize that like a lot of things that your partner is afraid to say to you, or they think about saying to you, or they kind of have said to you, but you're like, that's not me. It's gonna come out there. I,
It sure will.
I remember me and my partner, me and him, we went to couples therapy, and it's actually really because me and him had a situation, and I realized it was a consistent issue that was happening, and it turned into a situation. And I remember I went to therapy alone. She said next time you come, bring him. Let's talk. She was like, I'm not gonna charge you, but let's talk. I said, okay. I brought him, and I will tell you that if you ever want to hear in a safe space how someone genuinely feels about you and how the things that you may do on a positive and or negative level may affect someone or how it triggers them, do it. Because I didn't realize that every single time we were getting into an argument, I didn't know that my actions were actually triggering him based on his childhood trauma. So a lot of the things that I was receiving from him physically or verbally, and it's not abuse, but just him shutting down, him going into a room and being like, I don't want to talk to you. It's really because of what he dealt with as a teenager, as a young adult, as a child. So
Yeah.
he maneuvered that into his adult life because that's all he knew.
Mm.
And he didn't realize that by me yelling and putting my finger in his face and me being like cussing, that it was really because of the fact that I'm so used to having to defend myself in
Yeah.
situations that that's all I knew how to do. And I didn't know how to effectively sit down with my partner and tell him I have a problem. And he didn't know how to effectively come to me when he had a problem and just sit and talk to me about it. And couples therapy really sat there and taught us, like, yeah, when we have issues, we really need to sit and discuss it, because if we want this to work and we want this to last, we really need to figure this out and now and quickly and get these habits under control. Because if we don't, we're going to be in separate relationships and separate situations with people who may not treat us good. In this situation may be the best situation for us. And that's not for now, but that's longevity wise. To go to couples therapy. And that's why I also tell people too, if you ever get a chance and you think that you're on the verge of marriage, and I always say couples therapy, now I definitely understand why people go to premarital counseling.
Yeah. You should go. It's important.
And
It's necessary.
it's very necessary. You might think I don't need to talk to a counselor or a pastor about getting married and what this looks like, but in reality, you really do, because you're signing off to live your life with somebody for the rest of your life, essentially.
Forever. It's like it's a legal binding contract, basically. It's contract. Um, it's contract. And sometimes people can see stuff that you don't see.
Yeah.
Or they'll see the stuff that you are trying to avoid about your partner. Like,
Yeah. Like I told people, our issue was communication, and our therapist, and that's another big thing too. If your therapist isn't making you do homework assignments, you should probably get rid of them. Um, you should probably get rid of them in some way, shape, or form. If before you leave your session, she says she does not, or he does not say to you, "Here's a homework assignment for you to complete," that's a problem. That's a red flag. Ours made us as a communication, because we told her like we had communication issues.
yeah,
And what ours made us do was bake a cake.
together.
Yes. She
That's cute.
she said bake
See
a cake.
why? Because of communication. Yeah.
Yeah, she said bake a cake together, and by the end of it, you should have a fully formed cake. And she said, tell me at the next session how it went. So we baked our cake. We went to the next session. She said, how was it? And I remember telling her, I'm like, well, it was good. I deviated from it. He deviated from it. But she was like, did you guys communicate what you guys were doing separate? And I said, yeah, we did. And she was like, that's why. She was like, communication is key. And you guys told each other. She's like, if you didn't tell each other what you guys are doing is a problem. But she was like, you guys made something that was perfect for you two, that fit you two. So she was like, I want you to take that and mold it into your experiences moving forward.
Hmm. Come on, good therapist. We like it.
Mm-hmm.
We like it. We love to see it.
Love it.
But yeah, um I've been saying that for a while. Whoever I date, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day.
Oh, God.
Um, that's a whole other story for another day. But whoever I seriously date and whoever I consider marrying, like we would have to go to couples therapy. Like it's non-negotiable. Like it's non-negotiable. Like it's at the top of the list. Like because if you don't want to go, then that's a problem, and that's a red flag because I feel you're trying to hide something.
And then plus for you, on top of that, you're also in the church. So I think that, yeah. So, and you're also in the church. So for you, it would be a non-negotiable, because if you can't stand before God and talk to him and myself and our pastor about things that we need to potentially iron out before we stand before him in front of people, yeah, we got an issue.
And even if it's not like my pastor or like my leader, like I would find a therapist to go to.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
roll up. We'll talk about this. How much to copay? You take my insurance. Like
Okay.
I'm here for it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And also on top of them, if you're ever thinking about going to therapy, well, it's not for you. But If you ever think about going to therapy, y'all, with your job, you should get 6 free sessions.
Yes, you do. The EAP,
Okay?
assistant program.
EAP. Every job has an EAP program. Look into your EAP program. You should get 6 free sessions with whoever you want, depending if they're free or available. And then after that, you have to pay through insurance. But for the most part, it's free. I remember at one of my old jobs, my manager took all 6 of her sessions because she was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And even though she's remarried to somebody else, sometimes you need to talk to somebody 6 times, space them out, and do it before you think about paying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think couples therapy is super, super important.
Yeah. Family therapy is too. If your family is willing.
Girl, okay, that's the first part. Because sometimes they don't be willing to go to therapy.
Your family don't think they have problems, and they do.
And that's the issue.
The problem.
That's the issue. That's like an issue in the Black community. I just
The issue in the Black community is that we do not like taking responsibility for our actions.
Or accountability. Like
accountability. Repeat it with me now. Accountability. We don't. We are not accountable for our actions. Therefore, we create problems not only on ourselves but for other people.
Yeah.
Go to family therapy. If your family is willing.
Like that's another thing that I think I learned well, not really learned it, but I'm learning it over the past like year or so. Like, be accountable for your own actions. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that, but just be accountable. Like,
yeah,
like you can't be so quick to be like, well, you did that and you did this, but what did you do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I tell my kids I work with that all the time. They're like, Miss Lauren, so and so did this and so did that. I'm like, well, what did you do? Because clearly you suspended for something. So
yeah, I remember I used to run a tutoring program for kids in Southeast DC, and I remember some of them would just come and they would talk to us, and I remember they would be like, yeah, me and my sister were fighting, and I went to the kitchen and I set her clothes on fire.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. It used to be some crazy stuff.
Wait, what?
It used to be some crazy stuff, and they would be like, I did this to her, and I did this, and she did this to me, and she did that to me. And I remember saying, okay, well, for starters, one, you shouldn't be putting your hands on people in property.
And setting stuff on fire, like
as a 5th grader. That's the first issue. The second issue is, and I remember telling them, I was like, what are you doing to them that makes them lash out to you? Exactly. And what are they doing to you that makes you lash out to them?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like I said earlier, it is easy to do the unhealthy things than do the healthy things. It is very easy for us to point the blame on other people instead of like accepting that we messed up. Like, it's super easy to be like, well, they did this and they did that, but it's hard to be like, you know what, I messed up. Like, that's my fault. Like,
it's very hard.
Because people, I feel like people just be stubborn. Like, they be like, I'm mad and that's it. Like,
but you want something? You can keep doing all you want to, but you staying mad and you staying stubborn, that's gonna leave you alone by yourself.
Okay. That's the truth.
How you want it. And that's it on that.
Yeah, you will be alone. You might have health issues. You might have a whole bunch of stuff because you just be bitter and angry.
Mm-hmm.
Because all that stuff, like bitterness and being angry, like all that stuff, like if you don't release it anyway, like if you don't express it, shows up in other ways. Like it shows up in your health. It could show up in your relationships, but sometimes it shows up in your body. Like, yeah. There's a book that I want to read called The Body Keeps the Score. It's about trauma, but I haven't bought it yet because I don't feel like really reading it right now because we already in COVID and I don't got time. but it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And with traumatic events, your body still remembers. Like
Yeah.
you might forget, or like you might think you forget, but your body will remember, or your body could have a reaction like every anniversary of that event,
Mm-hmm.
but your body remembers.
Mm-hmm.
It's a powerful thing. I feel like there's like a medical term for that or something fancy. I'm gonna Google it one day. But is there anything else you want to share about your therapy journey with the people?
Go to therapy. Go to therapy. If you think that you might need to go to therapy, go to therapy.
Go to therapy.
Like I said in the beginning, your friends are gonna lie to you.
Oh,
9 times out of 10, not you, but no, I do personally think that with my therapy journey, it makes you an effective communicator. It makes you properly able to rationalize things that you go through, and that it allows you to have healthy relationships with people. Whether
and healthy boundaries with people.
Yeah, it allows you to set healthy boundaries. It allows you to understand when enough is enough, or sometimes maybe you're not getting enough of something, whether that is emotional, physical, spiritual, and you really need to kind of step back and realize what you're not getting enough of. Figure out what your language is and really be able to maneuver from there. So I will tell you that going to therapy really makes you sit and realize those things. But I will also tell you that with my therapy journey, it is a give and receive situation.
Yeah.
The therapists, they give you as much as they can, but you got to give them something too.
Yeah, you gotta give them something to work with.
Yeah, you just can't
Like,
go to thinking they're going to thinking that you're going to tell them I'm sad, and then they're going to say to you, "Well, how are you sad?" They're going to want more. They're going to need a lot out of you, and if you're not willing to be vulnerable and to strip yourself down, it's not worth it.
yeah, it's no point to waste your money.
Yeah, no point to waste your money.
It's no point to waste your money if you're not willing to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
At first it is scary talking to someone that you don't know. To be honest, you don't know them and they don't know you. But I feel like it's important to do that though.
Yeah, and I
Because
will tell you too that with therapists as well, at least on my journey, I realized do your research.
yes, people just be signing up and don't know nothing about nothing. Like,
Do your research before going to therapy because really, to be honest with you, at least on my journey, I've realized that I need a therapist who has dealt with childhood and adult trauma.
yeah,
Before you pick a therapist, you really need to understand what you're looking for,
yeah,
um, and what you exactly need and what your needs are. Because you picking somebody off Black therapists today or Black psychologists today just because they got 28 reviews on Instagram, that is not going to help you. Do
yeah,
research before making the initial appointment. And
yeah,
I will tell you this because it will literally make all the difference. And it really helps you build a better relationship.
yeah. And even down to, not to make this like a race thing, but even down to race. Like, do you want a black therapist? Like, I was watching This Is Us last week. That's my show. And Randall had a Caucasian woman, a white woman, as his therapist at first. And they kind of like this is like a kind of like a spoiler alert, Loki. They mentioned George Floyd in the episode and how Randall responded to that. And he told his therapist, like, I need a black therapist because there's certain things I can't tell you because you're white. But it is important to know, like, do you want a woman? Do you want a male? Do you want somebody of another race, your race? Like, what's up? Like, what you want? Like,
Treat your therapist like your PCP.
okay, come on.
Your therapist like they are your PCP,
Come
or
on.
you have to go to a specialty or a specialized position. Treat them the same. If you want a black woman because you're a black woman, definitely do that. If you're white and you might want a white man, definitely do that. You might want somebody older because you think they may have more wisdom than somebody who is younger. Definitely do that. But just be intentional with what you do regardless of whichever place you turn. Luckily for me, my requirements were that I wanted a Black woman who was older. And that's what I got.
Yeah.
And I am extremely happy with it, but everybody is different. But don't just pick somebody because they have 15,000 followers on IG. That
Or
will,
they have nice pictures, like they have nice branding pictures. Like, please don't do that.
yeah, please
Um,
don't do that. Like,
please don't pick them because you might not mesh well, like you might not
yeah,
gel well
yeah, you might not know.
because just because they look good on social media don't mean they're a good therapist.
No,
They could be horrible.
they could be extremely horrible. So
Yeah, like
on your journey, just make sure that you're intentional with what you want out of it. Make sure you're intentional with if you have issues, making sure you address those issues in your sessions, and making sure that when you pick whoever you want to counsel you, that they're for you. They're your advocator. And if you don't have somebody who's not advocating for you and they see you as another check, that's it.
boom.
You
And
are a check, but
huh?
make sure you're a worthwhile check.
Oh, okay, come on and talk. And another thing that you mentioned, fully participate in the journey, like do the homework, like actually like try to do it. Like
Journal.
try to do the stuff that your therapist tell you to do. Like at least try it.
Yeah. Do the homework. Journal each experience that you have. Journal your day to day.
Oh,
Journal
I love journaling. It's my favorite thing.
journal every single situation that you're put into that you think may affect you. Journal that, bring that to your session. So you can talk about it and you can go over it. And it definitely will make the difference. And if you haven't grown by each journal entry, you
Yeah.
might have some things you need to rethink.
Yeah. Or even like if you can't do like say she went like say certain activities like certain homeworks you can't do, bring that to therapy too as to why you can't do it.
Yeah.
Because there could be other stuff
That's
underlying as to why you don't want to do it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, cause yeah, people trying. Yeah, I'm just saying people trying to get out of homework, and
No.
luckily I only have kids and teens. Cause if I had adults, they would have homework
Yeah.
all the time. Cause yeah. Well, this has been a great episode.
It's been lovely.
It has. I don't even know how long we've been on here. Like
You having a good episode. You don't even remember that's been over an hour.
for real,
Yes.
Lord. Because on when I record on Zoom, it doesn't like on GarageBand you see the like a little timer thingy, but on Zoom there's no like timer. It just says record. So I don't know how long the episode is, but it's still good. Listen to every minute of it because it was popping.
Mm-hmm.
So hope you guys enjoyed this episode and thanks Gabby for being on the show.
You're welcome, Slim. I love you.
I love you too. Why do you call me Slim? But bye y'all. See y'all later.
Edit that out.
Yeah, I just had to get it out. Like